What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk a little bit about Borderlands 4 yet again. Look, I think we were duped. We thought the review scores were going live today. Now, look, as I say quite often, I will say it again here, review scores are not the be-all, end-all. For me, I take more of like just kind of the personal opinion of what the person is saying, not the score itself. I always say, what's the difference between like a 7.8 and a 7.9? And it's kind of played off as a joke, but I genuinely mean that, when I ask that question. That's why I don't do review scores of my own. Now, I will say, though, okay, this directly goes into some of the stuff we're hearing about Borderlands 4 today. It's not to say reviews have absolutely zero purpose. I've really, I think, landed kind of in the middle when it comes to other people's reviews, because one thing you can really pick up on is the state of the game, and I mean performance. Because, to kind of recap, right, we thought review scores were going to go live today. At the time I'm recording this hasn't happened. I've seen people say it's actually tomorrow morning, which was not what we had heard previously. It was supposed to be today, so maybe somebody's wires just got crossed or whatever. But what we are seeing today is a lot of things about the performance. Conan, of course, did the Clueless Gamer thing on it. It crashed, and it played off as a joke for sure, but, that's not ideal. You're having them kind of do early, I don't want to call it damage control, because I like to give things the benefit of the doubt until I guess they disappoint me. So maybe that's a me problem. But, like they have talked about, hey, there's going to be a day one patch. It might not fix everything. And I think sometimes, because Randy Pitchford has said some pretty bad stuff before, I think sometimes we're very harsh on what they say. And sometimes we have to be harsh. But sometimes I think, if a different studio said it, would we react the same way? Odds are, I think for something like this, we probably wouldn't. But one thing I do think people are kind of ready for, though, is to judge that performance, because that's something we've heard. I think some early access, like content creators are getting it. I saw somebody on social media, I think, say even on the PS5 Pro, the game runs really bad. So at this point, like, where are we now? Okay, we're another day closer to the game without scores. Again, to me, it's not really the scores part. It's more of like the comments on the game. I've said before, like, I think no matter what, it's probably going to be a really fun time. I'm really looking at, are people going to say that they like the writing? And again, it's just people's opinions. You can have your own opinion, and it can differ. Somebody might like the writing. It could be terrible, to your eyes or to my eyes. But it's still, we get to hear it. We at least get to have people say. And I do think, by the way, unanimously or almost unanimously, people did not like the writing and the tone and things like that of Borderlands 3. People were kind of on the same page. If people are on the same page with Borderlands 4, I'd like to hear it before I buy the game, by the way, because the game is a very poorly written disaster in that way. I've said before, like, I think playing this game with a friend or playing it with my wife, like, I think I can still have a lot of fun, and I'm planning to still get this game, whether it's day one or down the line. I want to play it, but I do kind of want to know where to set my thought process for, the writing and the tone and the villains and things like that. That's kind of where I'm at there. But again, I think, beyond the score, like, again, I don't really care if it gets 78 versus an 82. What I do care about is everything we just talked about. And then also, does this thing run well? Because if this thing, that's the other part to it, and it's kind of what I keep saying, like, beyond everything, I think the game will be fun to play. The issue is, if you can't play it, then there goes, all the fun. And it's something I am concerned about, not because it's seemingly, again, people's wires got crossed. I don't think 2K or, Gearbox or whatever, I don't think they delayed the reviews going live because the game runs poorly. Now, the game could run poorly, but I also just don't think they delayed, the review scores going out. I think people kind of got their wires crossed there. But at this point, now that we're starting to hear from them, and, another day closer, and the reviews going live a day closer to launch, actually the day before launch, and I think when, again, more creators are going to get access to it tomorrow, that does raise, alarms in a lot of people, where it's like, all right, do we have to be careful about, again, like, how the game actually is running? I think beyond anything else, because, look, this is a run and gun, like, there's a lot of stuff happening on screen. Borderlands games are generally very, very pretty, like, it's a nice art style, but, there's a lot going on. If these games run very poorly, that is a huge deal. And I mean, I guess, yeah, it's the standard procedure that games don't come out in their best form. They come out 2 months later after they release. They're at their best form. Yeah, that's the general practice. That doesn't mean we have to like it, and it doesn't mean we have to accept it either. You know, I think people are honestly getting pretty tired of specifically Unreal Engine 5 games that are coming out, whether it's the developer or whether it's the engine itself that's the problem. I mean, people kind of have different opinions, but I do think people are tired of these games coming out and they're just not running or they're not working very well. Again, like the game, I think for this game in particular too, and the reason why it stands out for me more for this game is like that is the defining feature of this game is the combat, is the gunplay, is that kind of fast nature of it. And that, like I keep saying, above all else, I feel like is the thing that will draw me to this game no matter if the writing is good, bad, awesome, excellent, terrible, you know, whatever word you want to use. The combat's going to be the thing that I think gets me into this game. If the game takes 2 months to optimize itself, you know, that's not going to be something that I think people are just going to accept. It's a fan base that's vocal, and I think like rightly vocal. And I think we've already seen even what they've talked about with the tone and the villain, you know, of this one. Like I think they actually do listen to people. So I think people being vocal in this case has probably worked out. Get ready though, because if the game, I mean, the thing is, it doesn't really matter though. It's not good for us because we can be vocal if the game's not going to run well, right? But that doesn't help us in the short term. It might help us for Borderlands 5. It might help us. They might have to rush the patch out like a day or two faster, but ultimately you're still getting a game that's maybe not at its best at launch versus getting it at its best at launch. So we'll see how it goes. I'm definitely excited to see how the next couple days plays out, and it's gotten more interesting than I think I thought it was going to. It's definitely changed up a bit. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.